And you know when Umar radiallahu anhu, when they conquered Bayt al-Maqdis, brothers, Jerusalem, which is now under occupation, Jerusalem, brothers, the head of Christendom, the city of the Anbiya, when he received the keys to Bayt al-Maqdis, a great honor bestowed upon the Muslims, he called for his companion Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, all the army, everything was presented before him. He says, all of this is because we kept away from sin. And Allah's going to ask us, what have we done to serve this deen after the Prophet ﷺ, and how little we have done. And him and Abu Ubaidah, they went behind a tree and they both started to weep. How little we have done. They conquered Jerusalem, brothers, subhanAllah. By this time, as I said, in 10 years, the Roman and Persian Empire had been defeated. The two superpowers of the day. What was the conditions of this victory? As I said, the conditions of this victory came back to that simple formula. They had yaqeen, and Allah gave them unique. Salah, zakah, siyam, hajj, ibadah, wudu, tahara. He's given us something unique. This develops discipline and application. And so they were people of distinction. This is the way. So we, as a result, and the Sahaba prove it, the most effective people to walk on the face of this earth. And so Umar radiallahu anh, from all his life, from the beginning to the end, service of Islam. Now, and just to go through some of these aspects of this life, brothers, you know, subhanAllah, I want to begin by now the topic in particular, the topic of social justice. And social policy was actually what I said. You know, one of my jobs in the past is I used to lecture in social policy at Leeds University and Bradford University. And when I used to do this, I always used to say to the non-Muslim lecturers and other people as well, who invented social policy? And they'd look at me in a bit of a confused way because they think they've invented it. I said, no, the first historical account of the development of a social policy infrastructure is in the Khalifa of Umar Ibn Al Khattab radiallahu anhu. And I'd say this to them and they'd look at me in a confused way. What are you talking about? Just as some brothers might be confused, what are we talking about here? What is social policy? I'll give you an example. Who knows what child benefit is? Anyone know what child benefit is? Brothers know child benefit, yes? Children's allowance? Isn't it a brilliant thing this society has? They got a welfare state. They give every child a stipend. Every child gets benefit every week. For many families, brothers, this keeps them afloat. Isn't this a beautiful thing? This shows the justice of these non-Muslims in this society. Where did they get it from? Does anyone know where they got it from? Sorry? Umar radiallahu anh, Umar Ibn Al Khattab. Even in Ireland, I'm told in Ireland, brothers and sisters, she told me there, on the child benefit book in Ireland, it used to be written at the bottom, as was originally established by Umar Ibn Al Khattab radiallahu anh. I'm trying to get one of these books. Brothers, let us try it. I've been really trying it, and I know there's an Irish connection between Birmingham and here as well. So any brothers who know, try to get this. This is part of our heritage. It's part of our history. We've lost our history, and that's why we're dispossessed people. You know, how did Umar radiallahu anh establish child benefit? 2 stories, brothers. 2 stories. Let me tell you 2 stories. The first story, Umar Ibn Al Khattab, he's doing his night patrol. As I told you, night patrol. And he's going through his city and he notices there's a tent there that wasn't there before. This shows you, brothers, this is a person who is aware of his environment and his people and his community. We can go think new buildings, new people come in and out of our community. We don't even know. New arrivals come and go. Some of the saddest aspects, people lie dead in their houses for weeks. Nobody knows. No community anymore, brothers. Umar Ibn Al Khattab, night patrol. He sees there's a tent there that there wasn't there before. And he hears a crying coming from this tent. A painful voice coming in. And so he goes to the tent and the man of the tent comes out. He said, what's going on? He said, my wife is giving birth. And this was a poor family. He didn't know who the man was. He didn't know this was Amir al-Mu'mineen. And so what happens is that Umar, okay, and the man said, and Umar said, is anyone tending to her? I said, no one is tending to her. No one is tending to her. He ran home. He went and bought provisions. He bought food. He told his wife, Kulthum radiallahu anha, he says, come, there's a woman giving birth, come and tend to her. Both of them arrived back on the scene. Kulthum went and tended to the woman. He then said to the man, light a fire. A fire was lit. He got the cooking pots out. He started to cook the food. And then Kulthum, cries out, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, give congratulations to the man, he has had a baby boy. Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, give congratulations, he has had a baby boy. The man didn't know it was Amir al-Mu'mineen. And so then the man realized, whose presence am I in? And he became, I'm in the presence of Amir al-Mu'mineen. He realized this. And then he, obviously, you know, one is in the presence of such a person, one would become somewhat intimidated. And then he said to the man, here, take this food and feed your wife. And then the person said, then he became worried. He said, because he was a poor person. He said, what am I going to do after this? He says, come to me the next day, I will give the stipend. I will give you child benefit for your child. This is where child benefit comes from, brothers. You see, you know, subhanAllah, by the grace of Allah, Umar radiallahu anhu established the treasury, the Baytul Mal. And in his time, brothers, you cannot even imagine the wealth that came to the Muslims. Let me give you an example. The treasury was established when Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he returned from Bahrain with 500,000 dirham. And the story goes, Umar radiallahu anhu says to Abu Hurairah, how much did you bring back? 500,000 dirham. How much? 500,000 dirham. How much? 100 plus 100 plus 100 plus 1. He couldn't even believe this amount of money. I'll give you an idea of what currency was like at that time. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, his fortune was estimated at 50,000 dirham. 50,000. In that, the equivalent of him today would be multi-millionaire. Abu Bakr would have been considered as a multi-millionaire today. 50,000 dirham was his fortune. He spent it all in the service of Allah.